Hello everybody, my name's Maria Toka, I'm a freelance graphic designer, and today I'd like to talk to you about whether you need or don't need a personal style as a graphic designer, which is a highly debatable topic in the community. There are different opinions, I would say, and like two main opinions is that you absolutely need it, or other people say not only you don't have to have it, but also it may harm your career and your skills and all that. And graphic design is not that industry that implies having a style. And the main argument of these people is that graphic design is supposed to, first of all, solve the problem and not to be a form of self-expression, because it's not art, it's a practical thing that has to be applied for something, and the main purpose is to solve a problem, like I said, whatever the client needs. And that's why personal style doesn't matter, or it can even harm your decision-making process, because you won't be objective. You wouldn't necessarily opt for the best solution for this particular project because you would want to make it just your own way, in your own style, which is kind of selfish, they think. And I would say that, of course, it all depends on the type of design that you do, the industry you work with, the niche, because there are some niches that allow more room for creativity and self-expression more than the others. And in this video, I wouldn't like to talk about that obvious industries. For example, if you're a UX designer, or you work for a bank or a pharmaceutical company with very strict guidelines of what exactly you're supposed to do. It involves a lot of decision making, but it doesn't take into account any aesthetic factor, or maybe if it does, it's very last thing in the priorities list. I mean, that's obvious. These type of designers probably don't really need a personal style. But instead, I would like to talk about more nuanced stuff, about niches that allow a little bit more creative freedom. For example, any advertisement for e-commerce, promotion of any services, all entertainment industries, obviously. Basically anywhere where you need to grab people's attention, and that's why it allows some creative freedom. And do you need a style in these cases, if that's your primary type of client? That's quite a debatable question. Well, first of all, obviously there is no one simple correct answer to that question. And I think, if you want to know my opinion, it's better to have a personal style rather than not to have. And I have a few reasons for that. Like, for me, obviously there are pros and cons for both, but personally, for me, pros outweigh cons, and we're gonna cover each of them right now. So the first pro, and probably the biggest one, is that obviously it's good for your personal brand. It helps you to be recognizable as a graphic designer, and also it shows you as a more confident professional that has their own vision, their own decision-making process, their own solutions, and that really attracts the client. They seem more trustworthy if they have their own style. It showcases confidence, you know. Also, it shows that you can do something unique, something that is not that easily replaced, that you're just not adjusting to every single project, every single client, every time, that you have your own values, your own vision, like I said. That's really attractive for a client, and I think it's easier to justify why you need to be paid more, because it shows you more of a professional. The second pro, I would say, that it narrows down your clientele. I'm talking about potential clients who's going to find you, because if they see that your style doesn't appeal to them, and that's the primary thing that you seem to be doing, and that's not what they want, they're probably not going to ask you to work for them. So it's like a natural filter that attracts only particular niche, only people who are particularly interested in your style, which is good. I mean, that way you can somehow control what kind of clients you attract. Yeah, it's nice to have a control over something in your career rather than just hope for the best and whatever client happens and you're ready to accept anything as if you have no choice, no power to decide what you want to design. So yeah, of course it's nice to have this opportunity. That was about attracting the clients. like strengthening your personal brand in terms of showing it to your prospective clients. But the next pro, I would say, has to do more with your audience, not necessarily clients. Maybe some of them will become potential clients, but some of them will just be your fans, maybe, or just people who appreciate your work. That's also nice to have these people around you. And it's just easier to gain audience that way. Let's be real, it is like that. Even though if you want your style or your design work to be very diverse, it's harder to get some recognition, to become recognizable. Because even if you look at it from a follower perspective, if you see someone's page, someone who you haven't heard about, you don't know this person, you're not familiar with their work, and if you see that their page is all over the place, they have all sorts of different projects, and like some of them maybe you like, some of them you don't like, and you are much less likely to follow this page because you don't even know what to expect from them, like what you're signing up for, you don't really know. Whereas if this person had a very consistent style, you would just have more clear idea what to expect and whether you want to follow this page or not. Right? It would just help you to decide. And yeah, this is how it works. And also it would be easier for you to remember this person, especially if they have very distinctive style. You would remember some features that are repeated with every design that they post. And just imagine if a person doesn't have a style, and it would be much harder to memorize like what they are about, who you just followed, if you even want to follow them. So yeah, from marketing perspective, it's about attracting followers, and just having an audience is always handy nowadays, because that's how you can get some connections. You can get clients, of course, but it includes some other opportunities just to meet other people from your industry, to collaborate, and just the bigger audience you have, the more chances that the algorithm will push your stuff to reach your potential clients, for example. So it's always good to have followers, even if they don't buy anything from you, they don't order any design, they are still good to have. And the fourth reason why it's good to have a style is the creative freedom, which brings you more fulfillment in life, fulfillment with your career. So maybe you wouldn't even need any additional creative outlet. You know, a lot of people who work in more like corporate or technical design niches, they often lack this creative outlet, the place where they can actually express themselves, like what they are about. They just do it in their free time as a hobby. But if you have your personal style, if it's a part of your brand, you will actually be encouraged to do that as your work, is not just as a hobby. And what a privilege to have a job where you are encouraged to be yourself. That sounds amazing, doesn't it? Maybe somebody will say that it's selfish, but there are people who would be interested in your particular style, and I don't think it's selfish. It's actually it's really good for your mental health as well, which is never selfish. To take care of your health. Why would it be selfish? I don't know. And the fourth reason is efficiency and saving time. Because if you already have a consistent style and some elements of your brand, of course it's easier to implement all of them across all your platforms and your website, maybe your online shop, to post the same elements everywhere, rather than design every time something completely new from scratch. How exhausting that would be, and time consuming. It's just much easier for both. For the viewer, for potential client, and for the designer itself to have a very consistent style. So it just lets you have very streamlined workflow, which is another benefit to have. So those were the pros. And when it comes to the cons of having a personal style, the biggest one I found is repetitiveness, lack of growth, and maybe laziness, because you don't really need to take your time for a new challenge every time. You just do whatever you used to be doing, and it can cause a little bit of stagnation in your design process, lack of challenges, and maybe that will even lead you to a burnout. You need to be careful about that. But what I can say about it is that, of course, you can't just develop your personal style and just stick with it forever. That's not really the best strategy for the long run. Of course, you need to develop it, maybe gradually, every time, to evolve it, to add new elements, to experiment a little bit, but still let it to be recognizable. So I think that's the best way to go. But obviously, you can't just stick with doing the same stuff. It's really dangerous position to be in, because over time it will stop working probably, or people will get bored of it, or maybe it will go out of style for a while. And the worst thing is that maybe you as a designer will be bored of it. Yeah, that's the biggest danger, I would say. So we need to prevent that, right? The second con I found is missing out on other types of interesting projects that maybe people wouldn't come to you because they know that you have a specific style and that's not within your style, so they wouldn't even reach out to you because they don't know that you can do this as well. For some people it may be a pro, because whatever you demonstrate in your portfolio, especially if you have consistent style, it's probably something that you want to attract. And if you're interested in other types of projects, yeah, just once in a while you can diversify your portfolio and to add something new, still somehow within your style, but a different type of a project. Yeah, I mean, it's not that much of a restriction. It's like a restriction that you chose for yourself, and if you're not happy with it, just feel free to add some other stuff in your portfolio, and that's how you can attract different type of clients. And the third con that I found, which is not something that I think you should really be worried about, but some people are worried about it, is that other people may copy your style and AI may copy your style. Yes, that happens, but it's very, very rare that people can copy your style and do it as well as you do it because they copy it. The copy is always worse than the original, and when it comes to the AI also, it's completely different thinking process. Having a style, it's not only about visuals, it's also about your approach to work, your decision making, the way you work in general. Yeah, I think the biggest strength that humans have over AI is just having ideas and what they want to express, because AI doesn't want to express anything. It would express only what you will tell it to express. So I don't think we need to worry that much about it. Like, if we put the actual meaning behind our style, it's not just a particular visual element. If it's a little bit deeper than that, then it's harder to replicate the exact same thing. It wouldn't be the same. It may look the same, but it's different. So all in all, I think that it's easier to succeed as a graphic designer if you have a personal style, again, in my view. But if you want to do it without a style, that's totally fine. I won't judge you, don't worry. It's not impossible. You can do it. And the good news is, even if you don't have any specific style, you haven't developed it yet, or you like very different things, you are confused about what to call your personal style, or maybe you don't even want to have a personal style in the first place because you think it will restrict you, I think we all still have a style in one way or another. It can be just very specific or a very broad one, very subtle, and it's hard to notice it, but in most cases we do have our style. If you have at least a little bit of a taste and you've discovered graphic design not yesterday, you'll probably have an idea what you like and what you don't like. That's already a starting point of having your own style. And if you practice often enough, ideally every day, maybe you don't even need to worry about developing your style, because it will happen naturally. Sometimes without even you realizing it. Just over time you will analyze your work and you will notice the certain pattern across all your body of work, some stuff that you keep doing over and over again. So those were my thoughts on having a style as a graphic designer. Let me guys know what you think about it, whether you need a style or maybe it is too restrictive and it's too selfish to have a style. Better to focus on every single project separately without relying on your style. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd be curious to check it out. And thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Find me on Instagram and see you guys next time.